Hey, okay. So, I was looking at my books and I was reflecting on the year and I was like, you know what I should do? Remember that weird 30-minute video that I made like 5 months ago about my books? Why don't I do that again? So here we go. But now I'm gonna, instead of it being 30 minutes, I'm gonna cut it down real short, maybe. And I'm gonna talk about the rest of the books that I've read so far. I'm trying to get to 50 books this year, which, first of all, my goal for reading this, like for 2019, was 15 books, and we're at 47 right now. So I might as well try and get to 50, which I feel like I will. I'm in a bit of a reading slump because like I have a real life and it's been getting in the way. So I haven't been able to read as much, and a lot of new releases had come out that I didn't really like, and then it was making me like not want to read as much, you know, the whole shebang. But we're gonna start off all the way in June. I think from where I left off, I feel like I left off after I finished the Percy Jackson series. And then I also want to talk about books that I currently have from this year that I read that I'm probably going to be getting rid of because after reading more books, I'm like, wow, that book was shitty kind of thing. So, yeah, so that's basically what this is going to be about. Let's get into it. Oh God, I sound like a YouTuber. Anyway, this is just for me to like, this is my planner because I'm looking at what books I read. They're highlighted in orange. So yeah, this is just basically for me to hear about my own thoughts, then also to share with you guys instead of me cornering you and telling you about them so you can listen to them at your own time. But yeah, okay, so I started off after I read The Last Olympian for Percy Jackson. I started the Captive Prince series, which I actually do have. Here they are. I know I set it all up for this video. So it was a trilogy. There we go. And I liked it. It was an interesting story. It was about this world like where people are slaves, and it was like, you know, because like Captive Prince thing, but so the prince of this other kingdom ended up being a slave, etc., etc. It was very interesting. I don't know if I'll keep them. I might keep the first one, but I don't know if I'll reread them anytime soon. But I really like some good, what's that called? Royalty stuff going on. I like the power structures. Very interesting. So I read all three of them at the same, not the same time, but in a row. And then the next thing I read was, I finished A Darker Shade of Magic, which here's the first book. It's a trilogy, and I read those in a row too. But I'm obsessed with this series. I really liked it. It's about this guy named Kel, and he can travel through different Londons, they call it. So there's like, so he is in Red London, I think. I haven't read it in a hot sec. No, I think there's Red London, White London, Gray London, and Black London. So he can like go, it's like a whole magic structure thing. But anyways, Kel gets this piece of black magic from Black London, and it's not supposed to be there. And then he meets this girl, and she's like super like, you know, badass, whatever, typical. And so he's the only one who can do that. And then his brother's the prince, so he's in the royal family even though he's an orphan, so they adopted him. And then throughout the three books we meet other characters, and I think out of this series I liked the second book the best, just because, you know, stories that the same thing happened with A Court of whatever that's called. I don't know what the first one's called. A Court of Thorns and Roses, where the second book was amazing, and then they continued that plot for the whole third book, and it was like, okay, I don't really care about this huge battle that's about to happen. So that's kind of what happened with this series too. The second one was really good, and it kind of left you on a cliffhanger, but then the whole plot for the third book was about that cliffhanger, and it was like, that's great, but I don't care anymore, you know? But I really like this series. I'm definitely going to keep it, and I would reread it again, I think. What's her name? Lila. That's the girl's name, the badass one. Lila. Love her. very cool. And she's also, oh, spoilers, she's also can travel between the different magic worlds, and they're like, whoa, we haven't seen that in a hot sec. And then there's this other guy named, I don't remember, but he's from White London and he's trying to take over the power, so he's the only other person that can, Holland, only other person who can do that. So yeah, very cool. All about, we love some good power structures again, kings and queens, love it. So yeah, that's like, and it was set in like the late 1800s in London, so they didn't have cell phones. You know how it is, but would highly recommend. Love her. We love some good action. That's all I have to say on that. Yes. Okay, and then while I was in Cape Cod, iconic, I read The Song of Achilles, which slapped so hard. Probably one of my top 5 books of the year. It was amazing. It was about the Iliad, but it was a retelling through, I don't know how to say his name, Patroclus. Yeah. Just pretend I know how to say that name. But it's just basically the best friend of Achilles. Best friend, you know how it be. So yeah, it was just about their friendship, relationship, and you know, Patroclus pretends to be Achilles during that big thing or whatever, trying to get back the this is such a bad video, but anyway, and then he ends up dying because he was acting like Achilles, and then they found out he wasn't Achilles, and then they killed him. And yeah, it was just really sad. I cried while I was in Cape Cod on my mom's birthday, her 50th birthday, and then I went to go golfing on the Cape after I read this, and all I could think about was Achilles, and that's pretty sad, but it literally broke my heart. Amazing. I have another copy of it, which is how much I love it. But yeah, highly recommend. Highly top tier content. Okay, thank you. Honestly, I had some really good books like all in a row. I had a great trio, another great A Darker Shade of Magic trio, and then I had A Song of Achilles. Like, girl, I was thriving in the summer. June and July, amazing. I was reading such good books, and I just was very excited about life. You know how it be. That's when I read that. Okay, I mixed up this order. But the next thing I read was The Foxhole Court, and I can't remember if I read the second book, but this is a book of 3. It's a trio, a trilogy. But I think I read halfway through the second book. It was fine. It was just kind of like, I didn't really care. It's like about these this like all these misfits who are like getting into crime, etc. So they put them on this like hockey-ish team. I don't know, the XE team, that's what they're called, but it's like a made-up sport. And basically it's just about how they're all kind of fucked up and they fuck each other up, you know? And this guy Neil is just trying to be able to live, but he also has this like crime lord dad, and one of the guys on the team was brothers with another guy who dad was also in that top crime lord thing, and they know about him. So it's all about how he's trying to survive his life from being that kid, because his name's not really Neil. His mom died, so he's been acting like this. He's just been having fake identities for the past like 5 or 6 years, and the homie's like 17. So yeah, very interesting. I'm probably gonna donate this because I don't know, it was just like, it was a quick read and I didn't really like care, and then I didn't read the last bit of the series, so yeah, might be getting rid of her, you know. And then there she go. Okay, and then that was the last book I read of the summer. And then the first week of school I actually finished another book. So I finished Vicious, and this is a duology. There's another book that just came out, and I feel like that's the last one. But I really liked this first book. It was about these 2 friends, and it's about superheroes, kind of, and they figured out how to make themselves have powers. But then, you know, the friends like betrayed each other when they were younger, when they were trying to build this experiment. So then the whole premise of it is them trying to kill each other while one of them was in jail, but then he broke out, etc. So one of them has, and their power depends on how they survive. So the thing that they do to try and make themselves superhuman is that they go into a near-death situation and you basically like get revived. And however you revived yourself, if that makes sense, that's what their power was. So for example, the main guy, I don't remember, was it Victor? Yeah. So the Victor, he tried to electrocute himself. So he was like shocking himself, and he, well, not himself, he had his best friend who ended up dying. He had his best friend electrocuting him to try and get him to die so that he could come back to life. And then she ended up getting electrocuted herself, died, you know. But the way that he saved himself was that he tried to numb the pain by trying to be like, oh, like, I don't feel any of this electrocution. I'm trying to like get my own like feeling back. And then when he did eventually like get revived, his power was to numb pain. Right? So then the other guy, Eli, he can regenerate, you know? So like if he gets a cut, for example, he heals right up, so he can't die, basically. So yeah, that's basically what the whole first book is about. And then there's this girl who they meet, who Victor meets, who can bring back the dead, and that's her superpower because she's also a superhuman. So a lot of people have accidentally become superhuman because they survived near-death experiences. And the other guy, Eli, who can regenerate himself, he's trying to kill them all because he's like, this is my destiny. You know, these kinds of people shouldn't be alive, but I can't kill myself because, you know, I regenerate. So I'm going to be here forever. So it's my duty to kill them all, including my best friend, Victor, who is stupid and I want him dead, right? But then the girl that Victor becomes friends with, who can bring back the dead, he wants her dead too because she's bringing all these guys back to life. So yeah, that's basically, I liked the first book a lot better. There was the second book I read, and it was just like, it was introducing a lot of new characters who are also superhuman, and they were trying to get them into the story, but I just wasn't, I didn't like it. I feel like the first book stood good on its own, you know, but I really liked the first one, would recommend, and I was really on my toes. I had no idea what was going to happen. I liked the ending of the second book because everything was finally coming together and it was like, whoa, that's happening. But then like the first 75% of it I didn't care about, you know, because it didn't include a lot of the characters we met in here. So, you know, I kept the first book because I thought it was a lot better. And then, oh, I did finish Half-Blood Prince. It's holding up my phone right now. But yeah, I finished the 6th book of Harry Potter. I was trying to reread Harry Potter for the longest time. It's taken me 2 years to reread the rest of the books. But I finished Half-Blood Prince in September. And then just this week, I finished Deathly Hallows. But I'll include that. Well, I don't have to, I just told you. So I'm not going to include that. But yeah, slaps, love it. And then that's when I was sick again. So I listened to the audiobook of Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. And it was actually read by Lin-Manuel Miranda, which is so cool. So like, I was really digging it. It was like 15 hours, I think, for the audiobook. And I was just laying there dead and I was listening to it. And, you know, I really liked it. I listened to it in a day and a half, so I'm not really sure how much I would like it if I read it normally, you know, not like sick, dying, and Lin-Manuel Miranda's reading it, you know. But I think it had a good story. It was talking about like these two friends, and I really liked because it was centered around like a Mexican family, so I got to learn more about different dynamics with that culture, so I thought that was really cool. But I don't know if I'll keep it just because it was a good book, but it was like I don't feel really anything special with it, you know? Like, I might listen to it again if I liked it. There are some good quotes in it that I really like. I follow the Ari and Dante like bot on Twitter that posts all these quotes in it. But yeah, I don't know. I might get rid of it. You never know. We'll see. But okay, and then I finished the first book of this series, and it was called Shadow and Bone. I didn't really like it. Didn't buy it. Didn't keep it. Never had it. But it was just like that's my mom. I didn't like the magic structure that was happening. You know, it was kind of confusing. I thought there was like insta love in it, and I was like, I'm not really feeling that, you know. So I think it was a trilogy also, and it it's in the same universe and the same author as a book I'm trying to read right now, which is really popular in booktube, which is Six of Crows. So I'm trying to read that right now. I think that one's gotten more praise than this book, but I'm familiar with the universe now, so I think I might enjoy it more. But yeah, it was kind of disappointing. It's whatever. And then at the end of September, I read a lot in September because I was sick. I had recruitment. I don't know what I was doing, but yeah, I finished. So earlier in the year, I read, where is it? Rainbow Rowell's, I don't know how to say her name. The book Carry On, which is kind of like a Harry Potter-ish thing, but the second book came out in September, so I read that. I don't know what I was expecting, but it was like, I don't know how I feel. It was kind of emo. Like, I feel like it's basically, so Rainbow Rowell's fangirl book is her writing fan fiction about this guy named Simon Snow and Baz Shepard, I think. And it's like the Harry Potter universe where Simon Snow is Harry Potter and he's like the chosen one, etc. So Carry On is that fan fiction, and then this is like the second part of the fan fiction, but it's like its own story now. But basically the story was kind of about, you know, once you're the chosen one and you've defeated this great dark, you know, creature, what do you do with your life now? So basically Simon Snow has PTSD and he doesn't want to do anything. Like, the back of it says your hero's journey might be over, but your life has just begun. So it's kind of about them, like his friends trying to take him on a trip to America to try and cheer him up, to try and get him out of his comfort zone because he hasn't been doing anything, because, you know, he's like, wow, my whole life has been centered around me being the chosen one, and now my life has no meaning, basically. So I thought that was really interesting. It was kind of sad, you know, but made me think about Harry Potter too. So, you know, we get emo about that anyway. But I thought it was a cool story. It wasn't like amazing, but I think there's going to be another book coming out, which I hope resolves more issues that this didn't resolve. So I feel very about it, you know? And then I also finished the Writing Center's book club book called Less, and it was just about, it was okay. It was just about this guy who's going around the world, and yeah, it was about this 50-year-old guy, and I was like, I can't really connect with this homie, but you know, that's just how it be. And then I started reading a new series by Rick Riordan because I was like, oh, because Chloe recommended I read these books, so she gave them to me. So I read the first, The Lost Hero, which is, oh my god, that scared the shit out of me. I read the first book of a new series that I think is still about the same gods. I don't know. I can't really remember. But I know that Percy Jackson's like gone. He got like kidnapped, you know how it is. And then this kid comes up and he's like, I don't know any of these gods. I know them as the Roman gods, but not the Egyptian gods, you know, whole thing. But I thought it was fun. I don't think I'll continue reading it just because I'm not that interested in Percy Jackson. just because I don't have any nostalgia towards it. So it's like, do I really want to continue reading about these characters? And it's kind of like middle school-ish writing. So it's like, but I like the story. And then I read another book called The Ruby Red, and it was like a time traveling thing. Very fun. It had insta-love in it. So I'm kind of like, I don't really want to read the rest because it was kind of cliche a little bit. But I liked the going back in time. That was kind of cool. And then, oh yes, and then I finished the sequel to Call Me By Your Name. So that just came out in November. So this was another new release. And I didn't like it because, so like the first 75% of it was about Elio's dad. And after his wife passes away, he finds love on the train with this 23-year-old, and homie's like 57, and it's like, ew. I mean, like, I guess that was already like a running theme in Call Me By Your Name. Like, oh, we love great age gaps. But yeah, I'm just gonna pretend this book didn't happen. I'm probably gonna get rid of it because I thought the ending to Call Me By Your Name was great. It was sad. It was terrible. It made me cry. It ripped my heart out. I hate it. I still think about it. And then this book just kind of gave it a happier ending. And I don't want that. You know? Like, Elio and Oliver end up together in the end, which I guess is like fun? I don't know. But it's just like after like 40 years after they had that summer together. And I don't know. It doesn't seem very realistic. And I thought the first ending of the first book was way more realistic. You know, they ended up seeing each other again a couple times after that summer, and it was still like, oh, you know, I still feel in love or something, right? But then in this one, they were just like, oh, like, here we are together. I don't know. Didn't like it. Big no. Big no. So we're going to pretend it didn't happen. And then I finished, so The Raven Cycle, which I absolutely love, obsessed with. I kind of want to reread it. Amazing. So Maggie Stiefvater is starting a new series with the same characters, but it's centered around one of the characters, Ronan, who can dream up things. So this is the new book. It's called Call Down the Hawk. And you know, Maggie Stiefvater's books are very like, you have no idea what the hell's going on until the last like maybe 50 pages. So this book was like, you know, a good 450 pages. So I was kind of confused. There was a lot of new characters that I don't really care about. The plot was confusing. A lot of the new characters I didn't care about, but I love seeing all the pieces of the old characters that we're used to. That was really great. I liked all the stuff about Ronan and his brothers. I thought that was really interesting. And so I know that there's going to be more of these books, so I'm going to hold on to it. But as a first book, since I'm confused, it was just, a lot of it was hard to read because they do like point of view chapters. So a lot of them were about the characters I didn't care about. And it was like, ew, I don't want to read about this, you know? So I think I'm kind of on the fence about it. I still really like The Raven Cycle, and I wish they included more from those characters into this book, but you know, it's whatever. I was kind of disappointed, but that's okay. I'm excited to see what else is going to happen. But yeah, and then for the Writing Center Book Club, we read The Alchemist, which I read back in freshman year of high school, which I hated it back then because I was like, this is so dumb. I hate this. But so that book's up at school. But I finished it and I absolutely loved it. It was so cool. It was a very like simple story, but it had such great messages about it. And I think reading it for pleasure really changed how I viewed the book, which I think in any case, when you're forced to read something, you don't really enjoy it, you know? So that was a pleasant surprise. I'm really happy that I enjoyed that, and the Writing Center let to keep the book, so I'm gonna add that to the bookshelf. And then, of course, I finished Deathly Hallows the day before I left for Thanksgiving break. Cried my eyes out while my roommate was studying for finals. It's really embarrassing. It reminded me of why I love Harry Potter so much. Those last couple chapters, like especially the chapter The Forest Again. reason why I got my tattoo, reason why I love Harry Potter so much. So it was just 10 out of 10. Really glad that I got to reread that and cry about it. You know how it is. So right now, I have a couple books I'm trying to read. I'm trying to read The Goldfinch. I'm on page like 200, but that thing's like 800 pages, and I don't think I'll be finishing it anytime soon. It's a really depressing book. I like to read happy things most of the time because I don't like to be depressed all the time. So I don't know how far I'm going to get with that. I'm trying to read the other book that Madeline Miller wrote, who wrote Song of Achilles. Oh, I just can't remember the name. I'm trying to read her other book, and I'm trying to read Six of Crows. And yeah, that's pretty much what's on my to read right now, like what's in my ebook app. But yeah, I wanted to, I just threw that. I wanted to just review stuff that I'm probably going to keep. I don't know how I'm going to do this because I can't switch the camera around. So I'll just like, oh, this works. Okay. So these are all the books that I read this year, and then the ones that we just talked about right here. And I think, I don't know if I want to keep this. I know I definitely want to keep The Raven Cycle. I want to keep Carry On and Fangirl. Loved Ready Player One, Call Me By Your Name. I don't know about Percy Jackson. I might keep my favorite out of that series, and then probably my favorite, the first book. You already know what I want to get rid of. But, and then also these are just like, oh, I had to read these in high school and I liked them. These aren't really books, and these are I haven't read yet, plus read that in another year. So I could start reading Game of Thrones. Maybe that's the move. Might do that. But other than that, that's it. Thanks for watching.